cuisnam sin. Stap sin chló gwed, mach dé iwas a chló, who's of the hot with Luke meats. I come from Pukvitsit, and it's one of the oldest villages on Vancouver Island, and it's right there. And our people have lived in this lands here for a long, long time. But anyways, a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago or so, we had some representatives from Imperial Metals come over to our office, and had this suitcase or this briefcase or something. And one of these guys opened this up and pulled out this great big piece of a gold nugget and set it on the table and said, we're here to talk about mining up there in Tranquil Creek. We want to mine for gold. And he said, it's clean. Whoa. So anyhow, began dialogue with them, and over several years, then our people said, no, we do not want this to happen in this part of the world. So it's still going on. People are still saying no, but the misery of forest or mining, they're still insisting that we had no interest in that place, but we do, and have always had interest in it. But so that all that began, that was prior to the Mount Polley spill, which we'll see a bit of tonight. And at this time, I'd really like to say to Bonnie and Dan and Climate Action, thank you very much, and all the other people that work along with them. And also to the lady who has did a bit of filming up there, who's in Atanis, and I'm very honored to come here and see this with you tonight. So, you know, one of the traditional things for us to do is do this Patrick song. I'm going to do that without this mic. To welcome all of you to this part of this world. This is Polley called. Paddling songs were used. There was a very important part of our cultures, and this paddling song belongs to the Tofino. And all the tribes along the coast all have a paddling song that they use. They were a very important part of protocol, so that when we travel through someone else's waters, it was very important for us to sing these songs. And the same for them when they travel through our waters. And we also use them to welcome the people to our shores and to our lands. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Whoa, yeah. Oh, houses coast here for thousands of years, and in the front of our houses in the former days, before the first Europeans arrived here, they used to have all these totem poles in front of the houses. And what those things were basically was our Constitution. We didn't have writings, but we have these teachings that were based on crests on totem poles. And for each of those crests on those totem poles, it would take hours and hours of teaching by elders. And those teachings, it would begin when your mother conceived your life. Elders would come and talk to us, I said, we're here already, about the first law and the first teaching. And that is a crest that is usually represented on top of a totem pole, and by the crest of the sun or the moon. And that's about being respectful first to ourselves. The next most important teaching was the bottom of the totem pole. Usually the crest of the wolf, the bear, or the killer whale. They're not the bottom because of the bottom. They're on the bottom because the people of these clans are the ones that uphold natural law. And that's basically what it's about. So all those crests that are between the top and the bottom, they were all ceremoniously taught through song and dance. And anytime people were sitting around sharing food, there would always be an elder who would talk first about the first law, and that's called respect, first of ourselves. And so there are many, many hours and hours of teaching to every one of those crests. And one of the very important ones is that we really have to be careful with our water. It is one of the most important ingredients of all life. We cannot survive without it. Not one person could. One of the other teachings that we have from our house is that Mother Nature will provide for our needs, but not our greed. So our land was taken care of in a very spiritual way in the former days. And all the people that lived here were taught ever since they were very young children, taught all the way through life about this. Once we started to understand about nature and the environment, we lived according to that, according to the laws of nature. We all live under the laws of nature. We're born, we all get older, and one day we will die. We have no choice in that matter, and that's the law of nature. So, this evening, I'm happy to attend here to see this report that you put together, and I'm sure there will be some emotions coming out of this tonight. I saw a preview of it and it shook me up a lot. This land here in the former days here used to be really, really rich with a lot of salmon that used to come in here, and it sustained all of our people. Before the first Europeans arrived, the population of our village of Hopinset was between 7,000 and 10,000 people. Living at Hopinset in several areas along here, islands and several areas between here and Long Beach. It was how we took care of the land that enabled us to live here. There were very few things brought in, very, very few things that our people would go to Seattle and Vancouver to trade with the Coast Salish people and bring very few things back. And now it's all that was brought in here. The rest of it was all from here. And so, I'm really happy to be able to share some of this with you. And I look forward to this. And again, I want to say thank you to the organizers very much.
Thank you, Joe.